Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So text 11 is on the board, so we'll just read before that and then we can chant the verse together. Yadi duram gata Krishno vanasho bhikshanayatam aham purvam iti samsprishya rimire. Translation, this is for text 6. Sometimes Krishna would go to a somewhat distant place to see the beauty of the forest. Then all the other boys would run to accompany him, each one saying, I shall be the first to run and touch Krishna. I shall touch Krishna first. In this way, they enjoyed life by repeatedly touching Krishna. Kecid veṇūn vādayanto dhmāntaḥ śṛṅgāṇi kecana kecid bhṛṅgaiḥ pragāyantaḥ kūjantaḥ kokilaiḥ pare vicchāyābhiḥ pradhāvanto gacchantaḥ sādhu-haṁsakaiḥ bakair upaviśantaś nṛtyantaś kalāpibhiḥ vikarṣantaḥ kīśa-bālān ārohantaś tair drumān vikurvantaś tair sākaṁ plavāntaś palashishu sākaṁ bakair vilaṅgāṇtaḥ sarita srava-samplutāḥ viḥasantaḥ praticāyāi śṛapantaśca pratishvanan. Now text 11. Itam satam brahma sukhanubhyatya Itam satam, no, sorry. How do you chant like vacho vegam manasa kroda vegam? Itam satam brahma sukhanubhyutya Itam satam brahma sukhanubhyutya dasyam gatanam pradhāvanto dasyam gatanam pradhāvanto dasyam gatanam pradhāvanto maya shritanam nara dharakena maya shritanam nara dharakena maya shritanam nara dharakena sākaṁ ijaru krita punya punjaha sākaṁ vicharu krita punya punja sākaṁ vicharu krita punya punja. Sometimes Krishna would go to a somewhat distant place to see the beauty of the forest. Then all the other boys would run to accompany him, each one saying, "I shall be the first to run and touch Krishna. I shall touch Krishna first." In this way, they enjoyed life by repeatedly touching Krishna. That was text 6. 7. All the boys would be differently engaged. Some boys blew their flutes, and others blew bugles made of horn. Some imitated the buzzing of the bumblebees, and others imitated the voice of the cuckoo. Some boys imitated flying birds by running water. Some boys imitated flying birds by running after the birds' shadows on the ground. Some imitated the beautiful movements and attractive postures of the swans. Some sat down with the ducks, sitting silently, and others imitated the dancing of the peacocks. Some boys attracted young monkeys in the trees. Some jumped into the trees, imitating the monkeys. Some made faces, as the monkeys were accustomed to do, and others jumped from one branch to another. Some boys went to the waterfalls and crossed over the river, jumping with the frogs, and when they saw their own reflections on the water, they would laugh. They would also condemn the sounds of their own echoes. In this way, all the cowherd boys used to play with Krishna, who is the source of the Brahman effulgence for jnanis, desiring to merge into that effulgence, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead for devotees who have accepted eternal servitorship, and who, for ordinary persons, is but another ordinary child. The cowherd boys, having accumulated the results of pious activities for many lives, were able to associate in this way with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How can one explain their good fortune? Purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. As recommended by Srila Rupa Goswami, Tasmat kenapyu padyena mana Krishne niveshayet. That's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 124. Somehow or other, whether one thinks of Krishna as an ordinary human child, as the source of the Brahman effulgence, as the origin of Paramatma, or as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one should concentrate one's full attention upon the lotus feet of Krishna. That is also the instruction of Bhagavad Gita 1866. Sarva dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam braja. Srimad Bhagavatam is the easiest way of directly approaching Krishna. Ishvara sa yohridya varudyate tra kritibi shushru shubis takshanat. That's Bhagavatam 112. Diverting even a little of one's attention toward Krishna and activities in Krishna consciousness immediately enables one to achieve the highest perfection of life. This is the purpose of the Krishna consciousness movement. Lokas yajanato vidvams chakre satvata samhitam. Bhagavatam 176. The secret of success is unknown to people in general, and therefore Srila Vyasadeva, being compassionate toward the poor souls in this material world, especially in this age of Kali, has given us the Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Amalam Yad Vaishnavanam Priyam. Bhagavatam 12, 13, 18. For Vaishnavas who are somewhat advanced, or who are fully aware of the glories and potencies of the Lord, Srimad Bhagavatam is a beloved Vedic literature. After all, we have to change this body, tata dehantara prapti. If we do not care about Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, we do not know what the next body will be. But if one adheres to these two books, Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, Jai Sisi Krishna Balaram, Shri Gornitai, Shri Radha Sham Sundar, Lalita Vishaka Devi Ki Jai. But if one adheres to these two books, Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, one is sure to obtain the association of Krishna in the next life. Tyaktvadeham punarjanma naiti mam eti sorjuna. Therefore, distribution of Srimad Bhagavatam all over the world is a great welfare activity for theologians, philosophers, transcendentalists, and yogis, yoginam api sarvesham, as well as for people in general. Janma labhaha para pumsa ante narayana smritihi. Bhagavatam 2:16. If we can somehow or other remember Krishna, Narayan, at the end of life, our life will be successful. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshulam Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam. Andeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatan Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So it's very generous of you all to tolerate an unqualified person speaking on such a high, exalted, beautiful verses and purport from Srila Prabhupada. I'm begging for the blessings of my seniors. In the Krishna book, later, it will come later in the 10th canto, there's the story of Krishna saving Nanda Maharaj from the clutches of Veṇūna. It says that after Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill, he lifted for 7 days, and then some days later, that Govardhan Leela, it started on the dark moon night, and then there were 7 days he lifted the hill, and then after Indra apologized for his offense, and then there was the Ekadasi after then, and Nanda Maharaj, he fasted for that Ekadasi, and on Dwadasi, he came and he took his bath in the Yamuna a little too early. Prabhupada says it was considered a demonic time. Somehow it was just before it should have been. And as a result of bathing too early, the servants of Veṇūna captured Nanda Maharaj and took him to Veṇūna for punishment. And immediately the associates of Nanda Maharaj, they were distressed and they called for Krishna Balaram to help rescue Nanda Maharaj. And so immediately Krishna went to Varunadev and he spoke to Veṇūna, who apologized and said, my servants were very wrong for taking Nanda Maharaj like this. And Veṇūna gave Krishna a lot of respect and a lot of respect, worship, and that was witnessed by Nanda Maharaj. And they could all understand, Veṇūna, he's a great demigod, and look how he's respecting Krishna. And when it got back to the residents of Vrindavan, there was some controversy. Prabhupada says because the residents of Vrindavan couldn't think that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So how can we understand? So Nanda Maharaj, Prabhupada says Nanda Maharaj was thinking maybe he was respecting because Krishna is such a nice son. Maybe that's why Veṇūna was giving so much respect. Some of the other residents of Vrindavan, they weren't sure. Maybe Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There was some doubt like that going around. And if he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, will we be delivered? And so Prabhupada explains, mostly people have no information about the spiritual world. And the Lord is very eager to give everyone that information so that they can get out of the darkness of material life. And so for the residents of Vrindavan, he took to the same place where he revealed himself as the Lord to Akrura. He took to that kund and showed them the spiritual sky. And in that way, anyone with any doubt was pacified. Definitely Krishna will deliver us. And the reason I'm telling that story is because there's a very nice passage that's relevant to the verses here under discussion I wanted to bring out. Prabhupada writes, the inhabitants of Vrindavan are all pure devotees. Their destination after quitting the body is Krishna Loka. They even surpass the Vaikuntha Lokas. The fact is that those who are always engaged in Krishna consciousness and mature pure devotional service are given the chance after death to gain Krishna's association in one of the universes within the material world. Krishna's pastimes are continuously going on, either in this universe or in another universe. Just as the sun globe is passing over many places across this earthly planet, so Krishna Leela, or the transcendental advent and pastimes of Krishna, are also going on continuously, either in this or another universe. The mature devotees who have completely executed Krishna consciousness are immediately transferred to the universe where Krishna is appearing. In that universe, the devotees get their first opportunity to associate with Krishna personally and directly. The training goes on, as we see in the Vrindavan Leela of Krishna within this planet. So, I don't mean to just read to you, but the idea is that We are in one material universe, and there are countless material universes. And Krishna is coming like once in a day of Brahma and displaying his pastimes in this Vrindavan Dham for the purpose of attracting the fallen conditioned souls. And he's doing that in one universe after another, after another, after another. Prabhupada is comparing it just like the sun. The sun is rising in one place in the world and while it's setting on another. And that process is going on continually. So in the same way, Krishna's pastimes are appearing and disappearing one after the other in different universes. And for those devotees who have sufficiently purified themselves, who have sufficiently developed their Krishna consciousness, sufficiently become free from material desire and attachment, and sufficiently improved, upgraded their enthusiasm to serve Krishna, those qualified people, they can be born into the pastimes of Krishna. And so Prabhupada, or the Bhagavatam here, is talking about these cowherd boys, how they're playing and enjoying with Krishna, how they're just the same supreme truth, who is the impersonal Brahman that is worshipped, appreciated by the Jnanis and the yogis, and worshipped by the devotees. That same supreme absolute truth is playing just like an ordinary boy in Vrindavan Dham with his cowherd boyfriends. And we can look at that and appreciate how are they so fortunate? How are they so fortunate to have that opportunity to play with Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as their friend? And so Sukadeva Goswami has said, he's used this term krita punya punja, which is very famous, and Prabhupada speaks about this many times. They got that good fortune because of many pious activities. All those boys who had accumulated the results of life after life of pious activities. And it said it doesn't mean ordinary pious activities, like if someone will act in the mode of goodness, do some charity. Like generally people will think, we should benefit the poor, or we should benefit the homeless or the sick. We should, hospitals and schools. That's like the ordinary type of welfare work that is considered a pious activity. By doing pious activities on the mundane, on the material plane, one may be able to elevate themselves in terms of the modes of nature. One may come more to the mode of goodness. One may be able to take their birth on a higher planet as like a demigod. But we're not talking about that type of pious activity. That pious activity may also be there. But the main pious activity are the activities done for the pleasure of Krishna. It means pure devotional service. It means all the activities that Srila Prabhupada is training us in, that he wants us to do, starting with surrendering to the spiritual master, taking instruction, following instruction, chanting, hearing, remembering, serving, and so on. By those types of pious activities, one can come to the point this point of associating directly with Krishna, engaging in his pastimes, and one very elevated step that is, for the real, the postgraduates of Krishna consciousness, is to take birth in Vrindavan at the time of Krishna's pastimes. And like Prabhupada says, the training goes on to increase one's ability to serve properly, to serve Krishna properly for his pleasure. I thought there's some very nice comments. Prabhupada spoke about this krita punya punja again and again. I thought to make a few comments about that. In this is a lecture on Bhagavad Gita in Los Angeles in 1969. A devotee asks, "You mentioned that the Gopas, Krishna's friends, are playing with him, and they are said to have done very much pious deeds in their past lives. I understand that they are eternal associates." Prabhupada says, no, those are eternal. Some of them are eternal associates. Some of them are promoted to that eternal association. Suppose if you go and become an associate, playmate of Krishna, so your position also becomes now eternally. If simply the eternal associates of Krishna can play with him, not others, then what is the meaning of your becoming Krishna conscious? You can become also. So in the pastimes of Krishna going on in the material world, yes, some of the eternal associates of Krishna are there. Prabhupada's saying, but it's not only eternal associates. It's devotees who have advanced to the point of being eligible so that they also can join in those pastimes. And Prabhupada's saying, what's the meaning of your becoming Krishna conscious if it's not possible? The meaning of the Krishna consciousness movement is to make it possible. So you can become also. How? By pious deeds of many, many lives. You can also become promoted to that position. Krita punya punja. Actually, in the Boma Vrindavan, in this material world, the Vrindavan, mostly the associates of Krishna are these conditioned living entities who are promoted to that Krishna conscious perfection stage. They are first of all allowed to see Krishna in the planet where Krishna's pastimes is going on. Same point that we said. And then they are promoted to the transcendental Vrindavan. Therefore, it is said in the Bhagavad, Krita punya punja. They are all promoted. But even they are promoted, they are now eternal associates. Is it clear? Hare Krishna. So, yeah, what a powerful conception. This Bhagavatam is meant for reading, but also it's meant for giving us our goal, our target, our aim in life. We want to hear about Krishna's pastimes, and ultimately we want to participate in them. We want to serve in them. And so Prabhupada is giving that facility. What's the meaning if you could not also do it? Krishna's not just making a show just for others to see, but also to gradually come to the point of participating also. Prabhupada says, these cowherd boys are playing. Playing with whom? He says, itam brahma sakanubhutya, like here. The supreme absolute truth, whom the impersonalists, the philosophers think of, here is that person. And dasyam ghatanam paradaivatena. Those who are devotees, the supreme person, he is here. And maya srityanam nara dharakena. Those who are ordinarily, they are thinking Krishna as ordinary child, but anyway, he is the same. Either you are thinking ordinary human being, or the supreme absolute truth, or the supreme personality of Godhead. These boys are playing with him because they accumulated krita punya punja, volumes of pious activities, many, many lives. Now they have got this opportunity. So everyone can have this opportunity. So if you want to have that opportunity, then you must be purified. So this initiation process means purification. He's speaking at an initiation. It will make you perfectly purified so that you can also associate with Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everyone has got the chance. Prabhupada also here in the purport, he's talking about preaching Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. He says, therefore, distribution of Srimad Bhagavatam all over the world is a great welfare activity for theologians, philosophers, transcendentalists, and yogis, as well as for people in general. It's the highest welfare activity, solving people's problems for food and for education and for health, to the best one that one may be able to do that. That's one type of welfare activity. But the highest welfare activity is to spiritually enlighten people so that they can understand, my Father is the Supreme Lord. I'm trying to run away independently, do my own thing, enjoy without Him. What a foolish mistake that is. How much more it would be to my benefit to recognize who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and appropriately engage in His service. So one who is liberated from this world and he is given the spiritual body, he's immediately transferred to the place where Krishna's Leela is going on. Just like in Vrindavan, when Krishna was present, all the Vrindavan Vasis, they were not ordinary men. They were liberated. They transferred to associate with Krishna, practice. And after this complete practice, they were transferred to the Goloka Vrindavan. So therefore, Sukadeva Goswami says about the boys, cowherd boys, playing with Krishna, Krita Punya Punja, Krita Punya Punja, oh, how much these boys have accumulated their pious activities. Now they are transferred here to play with Krishna. Oh, these boys, it appears that they are cowherd boys playing with Krishna, appreciating Sukadeva Goswami. Oh, how much they have accumulated their pious activities so that they have got the chance to play with Krishna. They are not ordinary cowherd boys. So similarly, all the gopis, all the cowherd boys, they are not ordinary men. They're given chance after many, many births, accumulating the devotional service. Devotional service is so nice. In one life, they can be benefited with that position as cowherd boy, as he likes, as friend, as gopis. That is possible. Therefore, the devotees are so much austere, so much, penanceful, that, quote, this life we shall attain that position. One is hoping to be Krishna's friend, one is hoping to be gopi, one is hoping to be friends of Yashoda. So everything is possible. Pancha ras, the 5 rasas in Vrindavan. One is hoping to be a tree there, a grass there, a flower there. So this is possible. And Krishna says, those who are cultivating Krishna consciousness, they come to me, they come to me. So where is the difficulty to understand the whole philosophy of Krishna consciousness? It is very simple. Everything is there. We have to understand, and we have to be very serious and sincere. So the devotees, Prabhupada says, they are very penanceful. This life we shall attain that position. It means they're very serious to improve their Krishna consciousness. Like yesterday, Daivi Shakti Mataji gave a beautiful class telling about how Srila Prabhupada struggled to come to America. On the Jaladuta, he crossed so many different oceans. He suffered heart attack. Even when he got to America, she said he had to take the 10-hour bus ride to Butler, Pennsylvania, and live with the meat eaters and he was speaking with people who were smoking and drinking, tolerating everything. Even he's preaching in San Francisco. First in New York, someone was trying to kill him. Prabhupada told Mukunda Maharaj, sometimes people have the mentality, first you learn from the guru and then you kill the guru so that you can become guru. Prabhupada was frightened because he was living with somebody and that person was trying to kill him, and so he cited that. I think this person's trying to kill me so that he will become the guru. So Mukunda Maharaj arranged 22nd Avenue for him. And he's preaching in San Francisco, and there was a person who was high on drugs, who was shouting and yelling while Prabhupada is giving the class, "I am God." And one of the devotees said, in New York, Brahmananda would never tolerate this. and they were saying, no, but here in San Francisco you have to tolerate it because the mentality is like that the people on drugs are good people and we can't criticize them. So look how Prabhupada tolerated, look at the sacrifice, because he's the greatest welfare worker. He has the greatest, most evolved type of compassion for the fallen. And he's setting the example of what is Krishna consciousness. What does it mean to be a pure devotee? For others to try to follow. There's endless room for improvement in Krishna consciousness. There's more room to make advancement. I can become more pure. I can become more surrendered. I can become more free from material attachment. I can be more enthusiastic in devotional service. And the acharyas are showing that. They're setting such an example that's so powerful and that's so high. We can always be very humble in front of those examples. So, Krita Punya Punja, by life after life, following the great souls, following the acharyas, taking shelter, surrendering to Krishna, it is possible to come to this incredible position, playing with Krishna. Prabhupada is expanding Krishna's pastimes. Let it be that let there be more cowherd boys playing flutes and bugles. Let there be more cowherd boys that are imitating the buzzing of the bumblebees and imitating the voice of the cuckoos and running after the shadows of the birds. Instead of spacing out in the material world, with whatever nonsense you're attached to. You can imitate the beautiful movements and attractive postures of the swans, sitting down with the ducks, imitating the dancing of the peacocks. Some boys attracted monkeys in the trees. Some jumped in the trees imitating the monkeys. Some made faces as the monkeys were accustomed to do, and others jumped from one branch to another. Some went to the waterfalls and crossed over the river, jumping with the frogs, and when they saw their own reflection on the water, they would laugh. They would also condemn the sounds of their own echoes. In this way, all the cowherd boys used to play with Krishna. When Krishna was going to a distant forest, they were challenging, I shall be the first to run and touch Krishna. I shall touch Krishna first. In this way, they enjoyed life by repeatedly touching Krishna. So Prabhupada, he wants us to come to this position. There's a step-by-step process. It's not that one can artificially jump and imitate. We should say that also. There are stages in devotional service from Shraddha to Prema. Step by step, we should understand. It's like if you're in school, it starts with kindergarten, elementary school, middle school, high school, university, graduate school, postgraduate school. There's different positions. And according to your position, there's a certain curriculum. There's certain books to be studied. There's certain work to be done so that you can come to the point of coming to the higher class. If the people in the elementary school want to read the postgraduate studies and try to pretend I'm the PhD student now, then they will never be successful. They're just making a mockery of the process. We have to carefully, gradually go through the system. Prabhupada, our acharyas, they're heavily criticizing devotees that want to take the thing cheaply and artificially try to jump up to a position beyond their adhikar, beyond their eligibility. We should understand what is our eligibility. One translation of eligibility I've seen, it means right. What right do you have? It's based on who you are, what your qualification is, what your standard of education is. Like Prabhupada said, the Bhagavad Gita is like the bachelor's degree, the undergraduate degree, and Srimad Bhagavatam is the master's degree, and Chaitanya Charitamrita is the postgraduate degree. So step by step, how much have we done the work? How much have we done the work of purifying ourselves? Actually, those stages of Shraddha to Prema, simply put, you could understand, you could analyze it, that someone is less attached to material nature, less attached to material sense gratification, and more attached to the service of Krishna. It's like, where are you on the dial between Maya and Krishna's service? You have to find your eligibility and progressively, carefully, under good guidance, move step by step to the next step. So I don't mean to, anyway, this verse came today. I'm not choosing this verse. This very high verse came. We want to go there. We want to have full determination, but we want to do it properly. We want to do it in an appropriate step-by-step way, progressively becoming detached from sense gratification and more attached to Krishna's service. I hope that's okay. The bell rang. Please forgive me for being late. If anybody has any comments or questions? Is someone? I'm sorry, Prabhu. We'll do next.
Prabhu, we will give the example of Prabhupada's tolerance. So we have to learn from Prabhupada to tolerate. Sometimes we cannot tolerate the things which are happening. Can you comment something on that?
Right. Sometimes we can't tolerate. How can we tolerate? Our main program is we should always be hearing, chanting, serving properly, meditating on the great souls, meditating on their qualities. We're having trouble tolerating. We should check ourselves and remember, look how tolerant Srila Prabhupada was. You can remember the examples. Like I tried to give some example. There must be countless examples. How Prabhupada was tolerant. Try to act on the transcendental knowledge we're being given and improve ourselves. How can I be more tolerant? I shouldn't just allow myself to be unlimitedly intolerant. Pancha, go to Prabhu.
Prabhupada said due to the effects of Kali Yuga, there's no more brahminical culture, no more guidance for the Kshatriyas, and people are not guided, so they're all unhappy. Everyone's unhappy because of no guidance. So Prabhupada, through his books, wants to reestablish brahminical culture, but it's very difficult. He says the only solution is that we very enthusiastically chant the holy name, and that'll purify so that eventually brahminical culture can be reestablished.
Wow.
That is common. But the question is, we were once eternal, then you come to the material world and, again you apply yourself in pure devotional service and you become again eternal. So eternal is no beginning, no end. Is it we go from eternal to being conditioned in a dream-like state and wake up to our eternality again? Is that something that was being discussed there, that someone can also become an eternal associate of the Lord by following this process?
Wow, thank you for asking such a mind-bending question. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, some people, they say the soul is amazing. Sometimes, some people, even after hearing about him, they can't understand. So I think this question is Prabhupada has said in one of the things that I said here, the person asks, those cowherd boys playing with Krishna, they're eternal associates. Well, many of them are coming from a stage of practice. They by their sadhana, they've come to that position of being eligible, and they too will become eternal associates. So how to understand it all and fit it all together? Somehow there are statements that we've been eternally conditioned in the material world, and then when we get to the spiritual, we will eternally have been in the spiritual world. Even in the material universe, the conceptions of time change as you get to different levels of the universe. Like we know from the Brahma Vimohan Lila, just a moment for him was like a year in Krishna's pastimes. And so if the demigods are looking down at the earth, it'd be like watching a video on fast forward. Everything would be like going so fast or something. So that's only from the heavenly realm. So not to speak of the spiritual realm, what is eternal time in terms of spiritual time? I think that it's like you can't figure it out. Yes, Prabhu?
The solution is we very enthusiastically chant Hare Krishna.
Jai. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Thank you for giving a much better answer than me. Maybe we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for your attention. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.